So when it comes to being an artist who likes to depict what it's like to have mental illness in the form of art, there are of course situations where I experience something known as art block. An art block is basically where you feel this unmotivated and displeasure in a certain topic and a certain thing that in this case is art. So these pieces are going to be pieces of art that I created that I was not proud of, and it's something that you can obviously see because on each of these I drew them on paper. They were just rough drafts and I hated them and I threw them away, but they have their meaning, and I think that there's a form of beauty that can be found in the mishap, in the misdirection. That is exactly what I wanted to portray in these pieces. I wanted to portray that even though I am very eloquent when it comes to my ability to understand my illness, there are times when my mind is so foggy, so quickly racing, so obsessive, and so sad that sometimes I cannot help but look at the things that I created and hate them. And that is something that a lot of people experience, even people without mental illness. They face these opportunities in their life where they don't know how to confront it, where they don't know how to get past it, and where they just feel a block. So you can obviously tell that from these pieces. They're crumpled up pieces of paper that I threw in the trash, and you can obviously tell that they came from a trash can. But I think that's a form of humbling, if you know what I mean. But anyway, let's get into the art. None of these have a name. I didn't name any of them. They don't have a name. I just created them and threw them away because I hated it. But this is what I wanted to portray when it came to the eyes. Now, I could name this piece The Eyes, but I don't like to name something that I hate. So, essentially, I wanted to portray what it's like to feel extreme paranoia. And not just paranoia in the form of, feeling like eyes are always on you, but paranoia in the very fabric of the things that you are touching. Paranoia that manifests itself in a way that people can read your thoughts through what you touch, and it's a really weird thing to be thinking about, especially while I'm in a normal state. But essentially I had this extreme paranoia that people could read my thoughts, that people could hear what was going on inside my head, that they knew my deepest, darkest secrets just from touching the same table as me. And that's something that I battled with a lot when I was in middle school. So this next piece also does not have a name, but it is another representation of what I like to think pain is. Now, why pain? Well, I wanted to create an image of me that looks contorted to the point where you don't even recognize certain things as human. It looks more like an animal. Oversized eyes, a small nose, a giant mouth, matted hair, a scraggly furry-ish beard, giant wrinkles in the head. There's not a lot of meaning behind what I wanted to create here. It's basically just me coming up with an idea and throwing it onto a piece of paper without any direction or course or anything like that. It's very unrefined. And I think that's a very good way to describe this one. Unrefined. But this next piece, I think you're going to think is a lot more interesting because it is another self-portrait, and I think you'll like it a lot. Like I said, these don't have any names, but there was a point in my life, there was a point where I was battling treatment, or battling myself while in treatment, where I felt like I was nothing but a monster that gobbles up money. My hospital bills were literally in the tens of thousands, and let's just say that is not good. That is very, very not good. Good thing I have good insurance. But I wanted to portray what it's like to fake a smile, fake that you're okay with this, you're okay with your parents and your family throwing away all their money, throwing away this hard-earned money, even if it's through insurance, even if it's through, whatever loopholes that they have, you still feel like a monster that's gobbling up their money. And that's something that I had to confront with. That's something that I had to deal with ever since coming out of treatment, ever since learning how expensive my bills were. It's like, in the very beginning, it was like, oh, $2,000, whatever. A couple months later, $38,000. Oh, that's not fun. But I got a little bit carried away there. So, when it comes down to it, do not be afraid of failure. I talk about this a lot in my videos, but do not be afraid of failure, because failure is what teaches you to move on. Failure is what teaches you resilience. And I think that there's a beauty in having mistakes. Mistakes allow you to grow. Mistakes allow you to become humble. Mistakes allow you to become better. No matter how deep you fail, no matter how deep you feel like you've fallen into an illness, there's always a beauty in being human, a beauty in your flaws.